Hello, guys. So, I want to talk with you guys today about process and how to show revision, experimentation, and practice. Okay? Um, so, we have 15 images in our sustained investigation um, to try to cover all four parts of that rubric. And the second part of the rubric, we've talked about inquiry, we've been talking about skills, but how do you show them that you've done practice, revision, and experimentation? So I'm here in AP Central in the 2PD Art and Design section, and this is your portfolio page that sort of shows you all there is to know about the portfolio. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll start to see these sample portfolios for sustained investigation, and they break it down the same way that the rubric is broken down. So there's some examples here. And I picked out some for us to look at so that you can kind of see what other kids have done. So here's one example. This student is working with photography. You can see the very first image in their sustained investigation is a sketchbook page with lots of writing, some smaller photographs that have been collaged in there. Looks like a very active sketchbook page detailing things about, I'm sure, what they're going to do. Now, in addition to that, we start to look at the work with selected color here, and then we start to see some of these other things. This is the work being turned into a three-dimensional sculpture, so taking photographs, making them three-dimensional. And then as we continue to look at this portfolio, which is beautiful, by the way, we can see all sorts of different ways that the person is experimenting. Like these are photographs of dryers hung up on a laundry rack to make it look like there's, you know, modern drying techniques being dried in an old-fashioned technique. So it's very interesting work that's showing them trying a lot of different things, cutting up, weaving things back together. So in the description of why this one is doing a good job with process experimentation and revision, the description at the bottom here talks about what's happening in the actual works themselves and that they see these sketchbook pages. So you can see four sketchbook pages in one image here. So, in fact, this student has turned in 13 images of work and two images of sketchbook pages, which might make it easier to finish the portfolio. Let's look at another example. This student is not listed for that part. This is in the skills part. But if we look, we're seeing just like finished pieces here. We don't see a lot of process images or anything until we get about to image 8. And what this student has done has written about how they start their process and then shown some examples of sketches that they're doing. And then the written again paired with one of the pieces that we've already seen. Sorry, I can get back on there. Written again about their thought process. So they're using the imagery. This is reference photos. They're using the imagery as a way to add to their statement about process and revision here, which is kind of clever. And it did start at image 8, and now we're on to our third or fourth image here, explaining concept and revision and sketching and things like that. So that feels like kind of a lot of emphasis on this one part of the rubric, maybe a little too much for this part of the rubric. One more example here. I'm going to look at this one. And here we can see it done in a slightly different way. Instead of just individual images of sketchbook pages, we have a sketchbook page, and then we have some process images that show us how this is being built up. We might think, oh, is that the finished piece? We'll go on to image 3, and you see that that has been, in fact, printed on top of like these newspapers. So we're seeing the piece develop over the course of 3 images. And this girl has done this more than once. So we have image 4 is the beginning of ideas of another piece. And we have some work on how it's developing and a finished piece. And she continues. So we have a lot of documentation of process here and fewer finished pieces. This is another strategy where you have kind of a finished piece and a sketchbook page in the same image, which is another way to kind of like squeeze more evidence of things in there. And there's our finished piece. So it is possible to do fewer than 15 pieces and include some extra work to show your process experimentation and revision. These are three ways that you could do it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in class. But there you go. Hope you guys enjoy. And I'll see you in our room, I guess.